Is that your way?
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. This is Waco Israel Ministries here on a lovely Sunday afternoon, going into going into another lesson. Waco. I'm gonna just title this Waco Israel Part 4. We're gonna share some scriptures and share some, as we've been doing the last couple lessons, and
We like to call this, encouraging word, because we like to do that at times, especially for new, viewers who are newly listening into us. And maybe if we can remember towards the end of this, this broadcast, we can share some things that I believe you should know about our ministry and why we're on. And doesn't matter who the tribes are. You bet your bootstraps it matters. It matters who you are and where you're going in this country and what's going to happen here in America. It matters. I don't understand when I meet Christians and nothing matters to them. I like to, I answer them back and say, well, if nothing matters, then why do you go to church? Right, Josh? If nothing matters, nothing matters. Oh, it doesn't matter what color Christ is. Oh, it doesn't matter about this. Oh, it doesn't matter about that. Well, that's it. I want to know as much as I can know, Josh, right?
absolutely.
That's right, about the word,
So,
what it's saying. No, good, speak, Josh.
I think we've been bringing very enlightening, profound lessons. Go open to
I would say the last really 4 or 5 months we've been really bringing it.
go to Joel 3.
Joel or Joel 3.
Hold that.
Okay, hold on.
Share the screen. I'm gonna play something right fast for you. I'm gonna play something something good for you. You all. Joel 3.
Before Amos, right?
Yep.
Joel 3. Okay. Yeah, we're not philosophizers. We don't philosophize nothing. And we can even give you scripture how these Christians are going to pay with their philosophy in the church. The word speaks for itself. We don't have to philosophize.
I'm gonna share this video, and we're gonna read some scriptures and share some more stuff. And we're gonna do the same thing we've been doing for the last month or so. Share some stuff, information, clothes, and what we've been doing the last bit now since we've been sharing some information. This clip is called Lifeless Churches.
Wow. Lifeless churches.
This know also
Make it bigger, screen.
that in the last days perilous times shall come.
And don't think for 1 second that America is not under judgment. We are under judgment. Every nation, every kingdom in the past has been destroyed because of immorality. And America is not going to escape it. Right, Joshua? We have listened to a tape the other day, and it blew us away. It was so true about the government not admitting what they did to the tribes.
The word of Yah came to me as I drove through a poverty-stricken neighborhood.
I want you to hear this.
I saw ruined houses everywhere. There were so many, desolate and void of the presence of life. Many were abandoned, and those that were not were unfit for dwelling.
Look at that. Look at these homes.
As I drove through a more populated area, the word of Yah came to me saying, Look at the people. What do you see? I saw people with wandering lost minds. Like zombies, they walked to and fro to various places as if they were in a trance. Blinded and distracted by a world of media hype and propaganda. I saw so many churches, and there were many going into these places. And the word of Yah came to me saying, these churches are like the ruined houses, desolate and void of my presence. They have a form of godliness, but deny my power. They have become entertainment centers for the weak. They are a hindrance to my spirit. Like a theater,
Honey, I think you'd like
they
this.
open every Sunday and they read their scripts and act out their parts and lead many lost sheep astray. My sheep hear my voice, and another they will not follow. But these sheep will follow anyone, anywhere, even to the slaughterhouse. They have become feasts for the beast, meat for wolves they are, and the wolves die sumptuously on their flesh. They are like sheep that have gone astray, and do not even know it.
That's a deception.
They are led astray by wolves, wolves that are clothed in a shepherd's garment, wolves that preach a leaven-filled word to lure the sheep away from the one true shepherd, Yashayah. These wolves feast on the souls of the lost sheep. A wolf will not tell the sheep to follow the one true shepherd. They tempt my people the same way that the serpent tempted Eve, with knowledge. And they use this knowledge to control my sheep. Knowledge without wisdom and understanding will only puff you up. Wisdom and understanding are the daughters of Yah. They walk side by side. Wisdom is thy sister, and understanding is thy kinswoman. They will keep thee from the strange woman. Doeth not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice?
Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak of excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are in righteousness. There is nothing forward or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that find knowledge. Receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold.
For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. But they have rejected my wisdom for the wisdom of the world. They follow the shepherds of this world blindly. They disrespect Yashayah and his commandments. They are proud and arrogant, haughty with their necks stretched. The words of their mouth is full of disrespect. These shepherds are like Eli. They have become fat with the offerings of the people and slothful concerning my judgments. Like Eli, they eat and eat and eat things that are unfit for consumption. The spirit of gluttony has consumed their heart, and their bowels are full of unrighteousness. They will not chasten their children, but they allow their children to commit whoredoms in their sins.
Look how they're moving in the church.
Therefore, like Eli, I have blinded them, and their children shall be put to death for all their whoredoms, except they repent. Judgment has come to you, O shepherds, that refuse to walk in my ways. Just as it came upon the house of Eli, so shall it come upon you. Watchmen, come, and I will show you what will become of these shepherds. A corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. This tree was corrupt. Its fruit was full of worms, and its branches full of insects. Therefore I blew it to the ground and split it in two, that it bear not fruit again. This is the judgment that I made for these shepherds that bear not good fruit. They shall be cast into the fire, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
And that will be the end of these religions.
That will be the end.
Judgment.
Christ is coming back. Yashayah is coming back to destroy every religion on this earth. It's not a planet. Earth. Christianity, Muslim, Buddha, Jehovah's Witness, you name it. Whatever I've left out, every occult, and a lot of religions are occults, are going to be destroyed. You may not agree if you're a Christian and you're first listening to us, but we have ample proof through the word of what's going to happen here. Babylon, you must come out of. You must come out of Babylon. Sun God worship on Sunday. That's the first move you have to make. If you're truly listening to us and you want the truth, you can't just sit here every month and listen to us and not do anything about it. I think we brought you enough ample time and truth, right? For you to make a decision.
Joel 3.
Joel 3. Let's read
Verse 1.
Want me to read it, Josh?
Uh-huh.
For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem.
So the Most High will regather his people, and he doesn't need a corrupt government to help him do it.
That's right.
So he doesn't, that whole 1948 thing was a lie.
About the Jews being in Jerusalem. Yeah, well, they're Jews, all right, but they're not the bloodline of the Most High. I will also gather all nations.
I will gather all what?
Nations.
So, hold on. He will gather all nations. Why? Because these all nations here are the ones who are responsible for harming and hurting his elect. Judah and Jerusalem are the southern kingdom, and we also know that they have also destroyed the northern kingdom of the Native Americans and the so-called Hispanics. Read.
And I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat and will plead with them there.
I will plead with warfare.
Wow. For my people.
For all people.
My people.
For what, Dad?
My people.
My what?
My people. And for my heritage.
My what?
My heritage.
For everyone's heritage.
My heritage, Israel.
Who?
Israel.
Ishmael.
Israel.
Esau.
Israel.
Read.
Whom they have scattered among the nations.
Whom they have scattered amongst the nations.
Come on, the four corners.
So these people, these nations are responsible for not only scattering the 12 tribes of Israel, but they are responsible for they are also responsible for a systematic war of deception and lies aimed towards these people.
That's right.
Verse 3.
And they have cast lots for my people.
Lots, meaning they have set up auction blocks to sell them.
And have given a boy for a harlot.
Now, what's the modern version of this? The NFL draft, MLB draft.
Come on.
NBA draft. All these are slave markets. And they have given a boy for a harlot because the slave masters would also rape little boys. They were homosexuals, these slave masters, a lot of them, if not all of them.
And sold a girl for wine.
So they would sell the slaves for, if you do your own research, they would sell them for gunpowder, wine.
That's right.
Anything that could be a trade material.
That's right. And
trade commerce.
That they might drink.
Right, read.
Yea. And what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon?
So Tyre and Zidon were Hamitic African people that lived amongst the children of Israel. Now, if we jump that ahead, we know that the Arabs were the first to slave trade. Then the Europeans knew where the Israelites were in Africa. That's why they went to specific places on the West Coast, like Ghana, Nigeria, the Congo. They knew exactly where to go to get these people. Timbuktu.
Right.
So
awesome, John.
these Hamitic people also linked up with with Esau to trade to sell the children of Israel to Esau, and as well with Islam and the Muslims, the Ishmaelites, or the blacks. Read.
Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine?
So Palestine were originally, these people were Hamitic Africans.
Come on.
What we would call Africans today, but biblically these people are Hamitic.
Will you render me a recompense?
Now remember, Israel is a Eastern African nation.
That's right.
Surrounded by Hamitic nations.
And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily,
Uh-huh.
will I return your recompense upon your own hand.
Read.
Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah
Uh-huh.
and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians.
Also the children of Judah and Jerusalem ye have sold unto the Grecians. Now, like I just mentioned, where is that?
Verse 6, Josh.
Okay.
The Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border.
Okay. The children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. So that's letting you know the Africans or the Hamitic people had a hand in what we call the transatlantic slave trade.
That's right.
During the 1600s, the 17 and 18 and 1900s, right?
That's right.
Now let's go into the book of the book of Lamentations chapter 5.
That's right after
Lamentations 5. Let's see what the word says today. What does the word say?
That's right. That's all that matters. It's what the word says.
Now we're about to show you colonialization in the Bible. What happens when the children of Israel were colonialized by, first by, of course, by Islam, but mainly over here, the Native Americans were colonialized by the Catholic Church. That's why you see a lot of Hispanics dealing with Rome or Catholicism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to read how this happened in the Bible.
All right, so we're going to
Lamentations 5:1, Dad.
all right, remember, O Most High,
So
what has come upon us.
Jeremiah, they call Jeremiah the weeping prophet because he did a lot of sorrowful prophecies about his people.
That's right. Consider.
Wait, before we continue, let's go to Lamentations 4 and see what the children of Israel look like.
Okay.
4 and 8.
4:8. Okay, I got it underlined. Lamentations 4:8. Their polishing was of sapphire. Their visage is blacker than a coal.
Wait. Their what?
Their visage is blacker than a coal.
Now, visage means their face or their appearance.
That's right.
So the children of Israel, the true Israelites, are blacker than coal.
They are not known in the streets.
Now, that's prophetic. Now, we know what happened. You know, they would be continually conquered.
That's right.
Now, but let's bring it up to nowadays. What is this prophetically speaking to the Israelites now? When you go to some of them now, they don't know themselves.
They don't know who they are.
That's why they're caught up in all these different philosophies.
And religions, that's right.
Uh-huh.
They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones.
Because they don't know themselves, they're walking around in a like a sickly mental state.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
It is withered. It is become like a stick.
In other words, they're walking around dead.
That's right.
Back to Lamentations 5 and 2.
All right.
Wait, let me get
Take your time.
5, 2.
All right.
Read.
Our inheritance
Our
is
what?
Our inheritance.
So when the Europeans came, what did they do? They took this land, and if you look it up, hold on. I can pull up some images for you and show you what these devil Europeans did to the Native Americans on Google Images. Hold on. So just say something right fast, Dad.
Yeah. An image is so important in the word, because without, in other words, the Christian church, they have an image of a white Christ in their spirit, and they bow down to that. Even our black brothers who are Hebrews in the Christian church. So see, they don't know any better. And if they do, they don't care, or the pastors have not told them the truth. But these are really false pastors that are in the Christian churches. I would say, Tony, at least 90% know.
Yeah.
At least 80, 90% know, and some don't. If you're in a Christian church, you matter to the Most High, not because you're a Christian, because you're the Most High's child. You are Hebrew, Israelite. Yashayah Christ was not a Christian. He was Hebrew Israelite. All the disciples are black. They are Hebrew Israelites.
This is what happened. Oh, hold on. This is what happened through the history to the 10 tribes by Catholics. Them killing mass numbers of the children of Israel. Look at this. This is what Jesus has done to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's your white Jesus.
Let me show.
And if you say, well, that's the past, no, it's still here. Your people are being killed in the streets of America. It's still going on.
And now they got you on reservations, a lot of so-called Native American Indians.
That's right. Remember what we said in the beginning of this program tonight. America is under judgment. America is going to have to answer for what they've done to the Afro-Americans and the American Indians and the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans, all the tribes. The Most High can do what he wants with his people. And he did send curses on them. But if you try to destroy them, you'll have to answer.
So,
because they're still his people.
Back to Lamentations 5.
Okay.
5 and 2.
Our inheritance is turned to strangers.
So we understand from the images we just showed you, and this is historical now, this is irrefutable, that Native Americans were slaughtered by the Roman Catholic system and given the religion of Christianity.
That's right.
Under a different name.
Our houses to aliens.
So their land was turned over to the Europeans. That's why you don't see a lot of Native Americans anymore.
That's right.
They're all on reservations still, dying on reservations under the hand of
that's your
Esau.
American government. And in Genesis 49, it says that Gad was overcome by a troop. That means the American army. But Gad will overcome at the end. We are orphans and fatherless.
So they killed the fathers and raped the women. We know the history.
That's right. Our mothers are as widows. We have drunken our water for money.
Now they have to pay the white man for their water.
Come on.
Read.
Our wood is sold unto us.
Read.
You know what he's really saying here? Everything in the world belonged to the tribes. And now we have to go to the white people and buy. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest.
Actually,
wow.
Let's go to Genesis 49. Let's do a quick. Let's break down the tribes right fast for everybody. We haven't done this in a while.
It's okay.
But we're about to give you the 12 tribes of Israel.
A lot of new viewers, and if you're not listening, if you just tuned in, well, here's the truth tonight. You want truth? Listen. Genesis 49, from the beginning, Josh.
This is the beginning, the book of beginnings. Genesis 49, starting at verse 1.
And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together. There's no rapture right there. It says, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
So this would be a last day prophecy.
Come on.
Of what would be happening to them.
Look how long ago he's telling you this. Now listen.
This is in the beginning. This is this is right before Jacob died, before in Egypt. This is when they first came into Egypt.
Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel, your father.
Reuben, who are the Seminole Indians and the Aboriginals of Australia, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength.
All right.
The excellency of might and the excellency of power. In other words, if you research the Native Americans, the Reubenites even identified themselves as, when they were found, they told the Europeans who they were.
Oh, might and dignity.
So they didn't, these are one of the only tribes never to make peace pacts with Esau.
That's right. Unstable as water? Oh.
Because they're unstable because they never made peace pacts. And they read,
thou shalt not excel.
So that's why, because they never really made a peace or agreement with Esau, because they knew their brother Esau would always break their agreements.
Wow. Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch.
This is why that curse came upon them, because Reuben slept with one of Jacob's wives.
And it has nothing to do with your color, your lips, or nothing like that.
Read, Simeon and Levi are brother. Now we know that, right?
Right. Dominican Republic.
Instruments of cruelty are within their habitations. Why?
Right.
Because they dwell on the same land, the island of Hispaniola.
That's
divided into Haiti, the Levites, Levi, and Simeon are the Dominicans.
Wow.
The instruments of cruelty are Catholicism and voodoo, which are pretty much the same thing.
Come on. Are in their habitations.
Read.
O my soul, come not thou into their secret.
In other words, don't deal with their witchcraft, because that stuff can actually damage you, because they can because now the way you know the Levites are special, because usually who do you go to when you want a vex put on somebody? You go to a Haitian voodoo, right? You go to a Haitian you go to a voodoo priest, a Haitian, right?
Yeah.
They deal with the strongest magic, occult magic. Why? Because they are doing what they did to they're doing on the left hand side what they used to do to the Most High. They used to slaughter chickens, goats, and sheep as sacrifices as the Levite priesthood.
Right, that's right. Good job.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, you know, I like this word here, these two words, cruelty and secret and assembly. Look at that. It's cruel, it's secret, and if you go in the assembly, he says, mine honor, be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man. So
that's talking about when their sister Dinah was raped. They rose up against
that's right.
Two of them killed an entire city.
Wow.
Just Simeon and Levi killed an entire city.
Oh, that movie's not right with all of them, the brothers?
No.
Oh, okay.
They rose up against an entire city and killed them all.
Wow. Yeah. And in their self-will, they dig down a wall. What, Tony?
The Shechemites.
The Shechem, yeah, Shechem.
Right?
Crude. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce. Listen to this. And their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob.
That's why they're divided on Hispaniola.
Look at this. And scatter them in Israel. Wow.
Let's get to Judah.
Judah.
Now, some of Judah is still in Africa.
Right.
A
lot of him are
Igbo.
Igbo. That's right.
There's a lot. They call them the Shantis, the Igbo, the Falasias, the Mandingo tribes, are actually all. That's what, like in Roots, when they took Kunta and he was a Mandingo.
That's
Mandingos.
Judah.
Mandingos were actually Hebrew Israelites.
That's right.
And it, so Judah, read.
Okay.
Thou art whom thy brethren shall praise, right?
Thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise.
In other words,
okay,
all the tribes will eventually look to Judah, the so-called African American,
because they're the strongest.
to lead. And let me give a worldly example. When you think of every major thing, what people usually come to mind? The best basketball player, Michael Jordan.
Best
what race was
players.
he? Best football player,
Best
Jerry
baseball.
Rice.
Mm-hmm.
Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron,
Jackie Robinson.
although
Willie Mays. Yeah.
although that guy was the Puerto Rican, what was in the 60s?
Oh, the one that hit all the home runs? Yeah. Who's that guy that hit all the home runs, Tony? Had the record for a long time.
The guy from Puerto Rico that died.
Oh,
Roberto Clemente.
Roberto Clemente. Right.
Although he's a Ephraimite.
Oh, Henry Aaron.
Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron, right. Hank Aaron.
Everything they get in, your people do, you dominate it.
Right. Watch this.
Right?
Thy hand shall be in the neck of your enemy.
Because you'll be right there under your enemy.
You got your hand right in them, but you don't even know who you are.
Right?
The father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp.
So Judah right now is like a baby lion, not knowing its full potential and
right.
authority.
From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion. And as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? We will. The scepter shall not depart from Judah.
So because Christ would come out of the line of Judah and be the priest unto the Most High.
Nor a lawgiver.
That's Christ, the lawgiver,
from
Yashayah.
Between his feet. Until peace comes, Shalom come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be.
So he's going to gather the elect of Israel and the elect of the Gentiles to him.
We're going to bring a message soon on that phony rapture too. Binding his fowl unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes.
So in other words, when Christ comes back, what we just read in Joel 3,
right?
He's gonna slaughter the nations, and his garments are going to be soaked in the blood of.
That's in Isaiah.
His conquest.
His eyes shall be red with wine. A Christian told me, no, his eyes are red because he's anointed.
Right.
That might be so. That's not what it's saying here. And his teeth white with milk. Look at that. And that's
what does white with milk mean?
Go ahead, Josh.
If you notice, black people, if you look at it,
come on.
If you we know that milk is white, right? So if you ever see a black person in the dark, their teeth in their mouth
really stick out
because they're white, like milk. Read.
Zebulon
are the Panamanians and the Colombians. Read.
Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea.
Now the haven of the sea, like Jacob said in the last days, is the Panama Canal.
Come on.
That was drawn by the American government. Now that's fulfilling Bible prophecy.
Come on. And he shall be for a haven of ships, and his brother shall be unto Zidon. Issachar
Mexican. Are the indigenous Mexicans.
Is a strong ass, crouching down between two burdens. And he saw that siesta, rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant.
The land of so-called Mexico. That that the Most High gave to his people when they came over here after the Assyrian captivity.
and bowed his shoulder to bear.
In other words,
Nobody works as hard
if
as
you
him.
notice, they're the latest working and usually the hardest working people that you'll
in
find.
the world, and became a servant unto tribute. You know what that means? They work for nothing. They're still slaves. And that's why I still love them. I understand that why they're in America. And they have nobody to really to guide them and really let them know what they're doing to people who are working here a long time. But you know what? That's per se, because I still love them and I know who they are.
Read.
Okay. Okay. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent in the way.
So he will link up with Satan and try to be a judge over his people when Levi was the priest and the judge.
And Adela in the path that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. I have waited for thy salvation, O my Lord, O my Ahayah. Gad, a troop shall overcome him. Who's Gad, Josh?
Gad are the so-called native Indians.
But he shall overcome at the last.
Uh-huh.
So your day is coming, Gad.
Read.
Out of Asher.
Asher are the native Brazilians, Argentinians, and Peruvians.
His head shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties.
That's speaking about all the natural resources, the oil and the brass that comes out of those areas.
Naphtali.
Naphtali are the Hawaiians.
Is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words.
Aloha, that's speaking about the language of the people
And
there.
they're beautiful people. Joseph is a fruitful bar.
That's speaking about
Manasseh.
What?
Ephraim and Manasseh, his sons.
Yeah. Joseph is a fruitful bar, even a fruitful bar by a well. That's good, Tony. Whose branches run over the wall.
Speaking
what does that
about
mean, Josh?
the wombs of the Puerto Ricans and the Cubans who came out of Joseph.
Ephraim and Manasseh.
In other words, they have big families too, Josh, right? The archers have sorely grieved them and shot at him and hated him. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands are made strong. Whose branches run over the wall means that they live together, Josh, that they don't let their
And
families
they have lots of members
living together, right? Okay. But his bow abode in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hand of the mighty power of Jacob. From thence is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, even by the power of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee, with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lieth under.
That's why they call that place Puerto Rico, or rich port.
Wow. Blessings of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of thy father have prevailed above the blessings of my pomegranates, unto the uttermost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him that was separate from his brethren.
Read.
Benjamin.
Or the Jamaicans and West Indian blacks.
Shall raven as a wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey. And at night he shall divide the spoil.
That's speaking about.
Explain that, Justin.
How a lot of these people, the Benjamites, would take over slave ships and turn them back.
Wow.
So a lot of so-called black people did not just accept slavery. There was a lot of slave revolting going on during slavery.
During that time is right.
So we have just identified, according to the now we're going to listen to some stuff and close.
Who despises the truth, enjoys your delusion, and rejects knowledge, please keep it moving and don't bother to waste your time with this video, because what you are about to hear will cause you to rethink everything you thought you knew. It will challenge your mind to the very edge of consciousness. So if you are not used to positive brain activity that may stimulate thought and change, get up, cut the video off, and continue grazing in the grass as a lost sheep.
Come on.
Watch your television to keep your mind weak. Drink the Kool-Aid of darkness and go back to sleep. Shalom. As young Elijah embarks on his research, he will soon discover that everything he thought he knew about his history was all wrong.
The cover-up of the accomplishments of Black people. Chancellor Williams wrote a book called The Destruction of Black Civilization. And in this book, he outlines 7 points as to why he feels that there was a cover-up.
Ignore. Just refuse to publish any facts of African history that don't go along with our racial theories. We need to create a religious and a scientific doctrine so that, African slavery won't appear that bad after all.
What we need to do is flood the world with new African histories that contain our European perspectives only.
Start renaming people and places. Replace.
Rename everything.
Look at this.
Put
You
your
hear
own
this?
spin on everything.
Listen to this,
So
folks.
they're telling you how they managed to keep the children of Israel under them.
African names with Arabic, European names. This will disguise their true Black identity.
Let's change the criteria for defining race. For example, 1 drop of Negro blood in America makes you a Negro, no matter how light the skin.
Yes, when reporting ancient African history, reverse the standard. No matter how dark the skin, woolly the hair, or thick the lips, you don't have to be a Negro.
When Black contribution to civilization is too obvious, let's find a way to attribute it to outside white influences. When all the ancient historians contradict your theory, we'll just discredit them.
Those are
Young
devils.
Elijah has just discovered that a cover-up of history is not only possible, but conceivable. There has been a conscious effort to wipe out the history of Black people in this world.
What we need to do is flood the world with new African histories that contain our European perspectives only. What we need to do is flood the world, flood the world, flood the world.
See the only friend press? No?
Miseducation.
Just over 100 years ago, a wandering prospector, a German by origin called Karl Mauch, searching for gold, came through these remote hills on a long trail and stumbled on this. He was the first white man ever to see it. And what he found, though he didn't know, were the largest man-made structures in any part of old Africa south of the valley of the Nile. A stone-built city in the heart of Africa. And yet the white people who first saw it were so blinded by their prejudices that they could not believe the evidence of their own eyes. Rather than face the possibility that Africans might have a history of their own, they fabricated exotic explanations.
Now, notice that he said south of the Egypt and the Nile, so this is in the interior of Africa. So these were not African cities. These were most likely or definitely Hebrew cities that Israelites built in Africa.
When they came out
And
of
imagined fantastic rites in honor of faraway monarchs.
The educational systems of the world have managed to convince the original peoples of the earth that they are nothing more than a worthless chance happening. You have those such as Jordan Maxwell, who claim that we are some sort of primitive being that was already here before God created them. Note the implication is that they were created by God and that we evolved. The favorite claim of many is that we evolved from apes, which helps them in stating in their constitution that we are only 3/5 human. Was the eminent writer and historian Thomas Carlyle. In 1849, Carlyle published an essay entitled Occasional Discourse on the Negro Question, in which he appealed for a return to some form of slavery. It was printed and reprinted in magazines across the world and helped transform the 19th century debate about race.
Get these books.
Carlyle's voice is a kind of prophetic voice, you know, which booms out from his study in Cheney Walk in Chelsea, and he writes these, you know, extraordinarily powerful prophetic pieces which were read, you know, with gusto by Victorians. And they, I mean, one can imagine them all sitting around their fires reading the latest periodical that's come out with this flow of rhetoric. In this case, in the Occasional Discourse on the Negro Question, the flow of rhetoric is about the necessity for inequality. Inequality is the proper way to run a society. Those who...
Now listen to what this lady just said. Inequality and racism is the way to run a society. So why are you trying, so-called blacks and Hispanics, why are you trying to get these people to give you fair treatment when they clearly have no intention of changing their society? You rather go to your enemy,
come on,
than seek justice and fair treatment amongst yourself and have your own.
You go to your oppressors, the ones who oppress you. Yeah, they're not going to help you. They'll throw you
who
a
know
bomb, right?
should rule those who don't know. Men should rule women. White people should rule black.
Exactly. So white people have the right to rule a society and have black people build it for them. So basically, that is exactly how America is still being run. All the menial work, the slave work, is still being done by blacks in football arena, in sports arena, the fast food industry. Every major industry is still being run off the backs of the children of Israel.
Educated people should rule the masses. It is a common myth that the dark indigenous people of certain regions are no longer there. They are still in these lands, but are strategically kept out of the media to enhance the deception. Let's talk about how Europeans colonized the whole world and dominated over the indigenous in favor of their own desires.
Mm-hmm.
The whitening of a culture has been going on for thousands of years. Usually, when a land is conquered by a foreign people, the entire look of the people changes over a period of years.
See, wait a minute.
Look at that, man. Look
the
at this.
whitening of a culture has been going on for thousands of years.
Watch what whitening
Usually, when a land is conquered by a foreign people, the entire look.
So this is how the original Native Americans looked. Very Negroid.
Oh yeah.
Lips, the ancient face, the broad nose, and that's what the
look like lions.
Get the scripture in Deuteronomy.
No, you sure it's Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy 32. Deuteronomy 33.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got you.
19.
Right. 32. Deuteronomy 32. We're going to do some exposing here.
20. 32 and 20.
Deuteronomy 32.
33 and 20.
Oh, Deuteronomy 33 and 20. Okay. Now listen. And of Gad, he said.
This is the Gadites.
Now watch this. That's him. Now listen, leave it there. Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion.
So he will dwell as a lion, and he will have the facial expressions
changes. Turn off. Wait. Stop.
Of a lion.
And tear it. I want you to explain this. Leave it off. And tear it the arm with the crown of the head. What does that mean? See those feathers?
So they would take the feathers and use the tips of the feathers to break their hands and make blood oaths.
Okay, you got that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, ready? And he provided the first part for himself, because there in a portion of the lawgiver was he seated, and he came with the heads of the people.
For a period of years.
Look at it now. Look at
The
him now.
women of that land are raped or subjugated as sexual slaves to their new masters. Much of their original history changes and become corrupt or assumed by their conquerors. A good example of this is Australia. The indigenous people of the land were black aboriginals. But
Reubenites.
when the British came and the British took over the land, the aboriginals were killed and pushed into the desert lands.
In the empire that the missionaries and abolitionists set out to create,
that was their game.
Indigenous peoples would see their cultures destroyed and their religions eradicated. And yet all this seems almost benign when compared with the grim reality of what imperialism became. Because during the 19th century, their dream was gradually overwhelmed by another vision, one that claimed that the dark races could not be civilized and should instead be exterminated. The British set about building a new capital and settling the surrounding countryside, land that for millennia had been the prime hunting grounds of the Aboriginals. Out in these fields and pastures, far from the control of the authorities, the settlers were free to displace and abuse the Aboriginals.
From the 1820s, huge amount of Aboriginal land has been taken up. Huge amount of Aboriginal land has been taken up. Huge amount of Aboriginal land has been taken up. And there is this enormous struggle between Aboriginal people and whites, because it's very hard to document a lot of the settler violence, because they know that it is against the law to kill Aboriginal people. They're being told that Aboriginal people are British subjects, but they certainly reveal in their diaries and journals the desire to kill Aboriginal people.
What became known as the Black War was a hidden conflict. The landscape itself was the only witness. The British settlers killed any Aboriginals they encountered. Whole groups were massacred. Kidnapping and rape became commonplace.
The British then began to come up with strategic ways to breeding out the original people of the land.
Notice, if you will, the half-caste child. And there are ever-increasing numbers of them. Now, what is to happen to them? Are we to allow the creation of an unwanted third race? Should the coloureds be encouraged to go back to the black? Or should they be advanced to white status and be absorbed in the white population? Now, time and again, I am asked by some white men, if I marry this coloured person, will our children be black? And as chief protector of Aborigines, it is my responsibility to accept or reject those marriages. Here is the answer. 3 generations. Half-blood grandmother, quadroon daughter, octoroon grandson. Now, as you can see in the 3rd generation, or 3rd cross, no trace of native origin is apparent. The continuing infiltration of white blood finally stamps out the black color. The Aboriginal has simply been bred up, bred up, bred up.
Whited out.
They did not call themselves Aboriginals. This was the name given to them by the British.
That is the Reubenites of Australia, the Aboriginals that we just read in Genesis 49.
I hope you get a hold of this tonight.
Colonization brings death to the original people of the land. Names change, and history is erased. Before the British in 1803, there were an estimated 750,000 full-blooded Aboriginals. The last full-blooded Aboriginal was a woman named Triganani, who died in 1876. Another example of intentional breeding out of black.
When slavery was abolished,
What did the white elite think about the legacy of African culture in Brazil?
What bothered them, or the biggest problem, was how to deal with the population of color.
So, now these are the Asherites, the Brazilians.
Wow.
Various intellectuals believed for Brazil to become a civilized country, it had to have a process of whitening.
So they had to whiten out Asher. They had to make them more and more like them.
For this reason, the government invested a great deal in European immigration to the country.
The Brazilian government.
Cesar Borgia.
Let's give him that script before we close.
Hold on.
Yeah, we've got time. Go on. We've got plenty of
time.
I want to hear more.
Look at this.
Yeah, let them hear more.
See, look at this. Cesar Borgia.
Look how big they made this white, phony homo Jesus. Look. For the whole world to see.
Come and let me kill you with his hands outstretched.
Let me kill your race.
This is in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
And who's the Brazilians?
Asher.
Mm-hmm.
Paid for more than 4 million Europeans to migrate to Brazil. This was part of a process known as branqueamento, whitening. The government hoped that these new immigrants would outnumber the black people and breed with them, over time whitening the face of Brazil, whitening the face of Brazil, whitening the face of Brazil, both its gene pool and its culture.
From then on, the government began to persecute practices that were seen as black, like candomblé and capoeira, trying to convince people that these practices were barbaric and that it was a civilizing act to stop them.
History is being changed all the time. They suppress the truth by calling you a racist if you challenge their version of history. I find it amazing that in every continent, the indigenous people of the land are much darker than the people that reside in the land today. What most don't realize is that the original people are.
Those are the Naphtalians, the original people in the South Sea Islands.
Wow. Where Jay is from, and what's his name?
Those are the children of Naphtali.
Filipinos in the Philippines.
Still in these lands, while the lighter carbon copy of these people are pushed to the forefront, and the darker people are pushed in the shadows of the land.
History has left some very impressive proof and evidence of what has happened. However, there are those who have set out to cover up true history and replace it with deception to cause particular groups to be shown in a better light than what history has already played out. They've also set out to recast historical figures as a race or a culture that wasn't true to real history. Much of our history has been whitewashed to portray the white race as always being on top. And we know that this is widely not true.
Please listen, this is very important. I don't think it's not.
Was it a black civilization?
I believe it was.
Or was it a white civilization?
Welcome to the Black Land. We are the killing truth to black people of the Black Land. Come and see how your mother's had and your father's had made their earth speak with stone of godly proportion. We sit in celebration of
So this is why Christ could go into Egypt, because he looked like the Egyptians. So letting you know that Christ was a man, according to the Bible, of a black man.
That's right.
So
you gotta watch that word, no color.
One more thing, then we'll close out.
Want to read that scripture? Remember to there will be no more.
The rock child. They are puppets to be used to cause our people to sin.
Come on. Come on.
So Nehemiah stood up and said, listen, if you continue to do this, we're going to lay hands on you. Now, that's in the Bible, right? Now,
I ain't praying for you.
But the Christians will say, well, that was back then. Something have changed now because Jesus came. That's what they say.
Right.
Let's go there. Dealing with the Sabbath with whom they call Jesus. And I'm going to say whom they call.
Notice.
Or Jesus.
That, again, the symbology, that's the same hand gesture, the sun, the halo, that is the same hand gesture that you see George Washington and the Baphomet holding up.
Wow.
The hand that's a hand gesture towards the heart and the two fingers, positive and negative.
Because before, during Christ's time, there was no such letter as the J. So there was nobody on earth anywhere calling Christ Jesus. And that's a whole nother conversation in itself. For those who don't know, Christ's name in the Hebrew is Yashayah, which means Savior. That's his name. Yashayah is his name. Not Yeshua, not Yehoshua, not the names that came from the Jewish Masoretes who injected Latin and Greek tongue into the Hebrew tongue during the first century.
Okay.
To dilute the power of the Most High in Christ's name. Knowing that there's power in what they would call, we don't call it that, but they call it spiritual invocation. Knowing that everything we see here was made with the word. There's power in words. So if we speak the true name of the Most High in its ancient tongue, it has force and power, like it's written of in the book of Esdras. So they're trying to keep us disconnected from that power by diluting the languages and keeping the slaves from the name they called on when our people were led out of Egypt. But let's go back to Matthew 5 and 17. And let's see what Christ says with his own mouth. And Christians, this should be your Christ anthem. Every Christian should know this scripture. Matthew 5 and 17.
Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
He says, think not that I've come to destroy the law or the prophets. I come not to destroy, but to fulfill.
So that should let you know that Christianity is false, because they teach you Christ came to destroy the law or replace it, when he did not. He clearly just said it.
How can the Old Testament be done away with when Christ was a fulfillment of the Old Testament? And there's things in the Old Testament that have not been fulfilled yet, like Christ's second coming. That's written up in the Old Testament. I hope you know that. When you get a chance, read Isaiah 63. When it talks about him coming to take down the powers of Edom. That's your Illuminati. That's your Roman Empire. That's your 10 horns in EU. Christ is speaking of taking them down in Isaiah 63. So if the Old Testament is done away with, how can Christ fulfill that prophecy coming to pass? See, they came up with that, what I would call disclaimer, saying the Old Testament doesn't matter or done away with, so they can pick and choose what to follow. But you can't use Christ to do that. That's you being deceived by man. Because Christ said what? Read it again.
Think not that I'm come to destroy the law or the prophets.
I did not come to destroy the law or the prophets. That's what Christ is saying. So don't try to claim that Christ came to undo what his Father did, or what his Father sent him to do.
That's what Dalla tried to do.
Read.
Separate the
I
Christ.
am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
See, but the Christian church would make you believe the law was destroyed by Christ. No, they're not following Christ. They're dealing with an antichrist. That's the harsh reality. And because you've followed it so long, you can't convince yourself. You can't even imagine that you would be following Satan.
Satan. Wow. Look at this. Yahweh. That's the God of the world right now, Satan.
But the only way you would know, one way or the other, is screening that through the scriptures. Screening it through the Bible. Okay, so Christ didn't come to destroy the law. So I don't care who your pastor or preacher is. If they tell you that Christ did away with the law, you know they're lying. Because Christ said with his own mouth, he did not come to destroy the law or the prophets. The law is the first 5 books of Moses. The prophets is the rest of the Old Testament, Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Nehemiah. So he didn't come to destroy what we just read in Nehemiah. And you notice when Christ went through the temple, beating them out of the temple, why? They was there on the Sabbath selling sacrifices. Similar to what Nehemiah was dealing with when he said, if you keep on coming near this wall, I'm going to lay hands on you.
And put these hands on.
See that?
About healing either.
Trying to exchange and make finances on the Sabbath day. I thought Christ was doing away with the law.
Aren't they doing that in the church now? Selling books? Selling stuff in
But
the
they
church?
was exchanging in the synagogue, because that's the day, in the temple, because that's the day people come to get their sacrifices so that the Levites can produce the service for them. So the law, if the Sabbath was done away with, why was Christ on the Sabbath? Why did Christ go in the synagogue on the Sabbath and read out of the law? Why did he go on Sunday? I'm going to get your Sunday in 1 second. Why they switched it to Sunday. I'm going to deal with that in one moment. But I want to deal with one piece at a time, from the Old Testament to the New Testament. And why would your Creator trick you? Why would he say it's a Sabbath one time and then switch it and say, well, it doesn't matter some other place?
Wow, watch out.
The Bible didn't trick you, brothers and sisters. The Bible is clear with it. Christ warned us of the deceiver, which came through the Roman Catholic Church, which came from the same people who destroyed us in 70 AD. They are tricking us into worshiping their God. Thereby, they're over us. That's the whole point. It's part of their rulership. You know, a people are totally programmed and under your power if they follow your God. So we're doing this thing in reverse. Not only are we rejecting the gods that we have, that have been given to us by our slave masters, and rejecting our slave masters, in turn, we're going to the Gentiles and letting them know to come out of their Gentile ways and follow the God whom they will serve coming.
Wow. So we'll close this?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's go to Matthew 12. Christ himself.
All right. Give me that. Unless you want to keep it in
Yashayah himself.
That's yours. Just take that.
Read. Start at the first verse. Thank you.
At that time, Yashayah went on the Sabbath day to the corn, and his disciples were an hunger.
So you know you're not supposed to do anything on the Sabbath, right? So now we're showing you the grace of the Sabbath. Now, I'm bringing this twofold. Why? Because Christians go here to tell you this is why they deal with Sunday worship and not follow the Sabbath. And I'm going to show you they can't do that. As a matter of fact, this gives credence to why we must follow the Sabbath. It's going to show you. Read.
That's right.
And his disciples were an hungry and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat.
So here it is. You know you're not supposed to gather anything on the Sabbath. But Christ and the disciples, after working all night and teaching the word, they were hungry. So they're walking through the corns, eating the corn, and you got the Pharisees out there. Now, for those who don't know who the Pharisees and the scribes were, they were the so-called upholders of the law. They had a phylactery with them in which they would look. And if you're breaking a law, like a police giving citations, they can point to the law and tell you exactly what you were doing wrong. It's called a phylactery. All right, so here it is. They're hanging out around the corn. Now, think about it though. If you are out there where they're dealing with the corn, claiming they're doing something wrong, you must be breaking the Sabbath too, right? Isn't pointing out a law and working and going back, reporting back to the Pharisees and the administration like a police would, isn't that working? But that's what Christ was trying to show them, that there's grace in the law. Now, this is not telling you to go find another day to worship, like the Christians say, but they'll go to this scripture because they're worshiping on a Sunday. And my answer to that, for those who were running a Christian to say that, well, can you please tell me in this chapter, you're saying that the Sabbath is done away with, which is not in the chapter. But please tell me, where in the chapter does it say worship Sunday?
Come on, that's right.
But this is what they're going there for, right? But let's give you the scenario. Christ and the disciples are tired. They're eating, plucking the corn. Now, Christ knew it, but he wanted to show the Pharisees and scribes something too. Read.
Verse 2. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath day.
So he went to Christ. Went straight to the head. But your disciples is doing some things that you're not supposed to do, during the Sabbath day. People are not supposed to be out here. What did Christ do?
Verse 3. But he answered unto them, Have you not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of the Most High, and did eat the showbread?
Now you notice he's going straight in the Old Testament. Why? Because these Pharisees and scribes were experts of the Old Testament. That's the difference between those that were back then and the Christians and people that are following now. You understand? The Christians have no idea what was going on in the Old Testament. Therefore, they don't understand the New Testament.
That's Jesus.
Because the slave masters say, don't worry about the other half of the book that Christ came to fulfill. Because, you may learn too much. You may find out that you the people for 28. Don't worry about that. Just deal with Christ and the stuff we program you in the theologian seminary colleges, and take that back to the ignorant in your neighborhood so that we can continue to poison and kill them. That's what you do, slave. And do it. And while you're doing it, make sure you sign up for a 501c3. Get tax free. We're going to make sure you don't have to pay no taxes as long as you go lie to the people. And if you say anything against politicians, we're gonna take you down and everything, your finances, because you signed this contract.
See, Bush would want.
Okay. That's how it works. Finish reading.
How he entered into the house of the Most High, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat.
So David went and ate the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat in the Old Testament. Why? Because the Most High was dealing with David. Christ would be fulfilled by going through David's loins. So David was dealing with war. His men was dealing with war. They were hungry. The only place there was food was the showbread in the temple. Now, anyone touch a showbread, you're dead on the spot. But David was given grace so that his army could have energy to continue the will of the Most High. Now, are you going to say David is wrong? That's what Christ is showing. What Christ is showing, is there room for grace on the Sabbath to do good if it's the will of the Most High? The Sabbath is not supposed to be a burden to you.
That's right. Come on.
There is grace on the Sabbath to do good. That's what he's showing. right? Because everything was the law. But what about, and the Most High didn't give us the law so that we can be restricted. He gave us the law to be free, to follow it in the spirit. But these guys wanted to use it as an excuse to penalize. You understand? This is what makes me better than you now, because I'm doing it and you're not. Or penalizing people.
Wow. So,
wow, Josh,
we understand. So, as our elder, as Elder Ricard was just explaining, the Bible does not tell you to switch the day of reverence and of rest to the sun god worship.
That's right.
And one more scripture. Hold on, and I got it.
It's okay.
I'll read it.
No, take your time.
Ezekiel. I'm gonna show you all sun god worship in the Bible and Sunday worship. Ezekiel.
If you don't realize what you're doing, look at this close, and this is what you're doing. You're actually worshiping a uterus, a sun in the sky, not the Son of the Most High, not a person.
Ezekiel 40, Ezekiel, and I'll close with this. Ezekiel, the 40, I keep saying 40. Ezekiel 8:14. And he brought me into the inner court of the Most High's house. And behold, there stood in the temple, between the temple and the porch.
20 and 4.
Hold on, let me. Temple and the porch.
With the censers in there. Yeah.
Watch, and let me read verse 14 and I'll go back to that. And then he brought me into the gate of the Most High's house, or the church.
Come on.
And there's, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. So what was happening, now what is this symbol, this telling you? Why women are get their emotions into pagan worship and these churches.
And you see them crying.
And they're crying to Tammuz because that is the god of Sunday. In actuality.
And that's who they're really crying to.
Stood.
You see what happens when your emotions take over?
And he brought me into the inner court of the Most High's house. And behold, there at the door of the temple of the Lord, and between the porch and the altar stood 20 and 5 men with their backs toward the temple of the Lord and their faces toward the east.
The east.
And they worship the sun.
Come on.
And they worship the sun toward the east.
Okay.
So
now what were they saying? What sun? The sun in the sky, not the Son of the Most High. Not Yashayah.
So they were, this is, see, again, this is when the Israelites went, and what did the Israelites always do when they went off? They worshiped the sun, or they worshiped Sunday.
Come on.
Instead of the Sabbath.
That's right.
So
that's right.
This is exactly And again, they worship the sun. This is where the origin of Sunday. This is a Babylonian, Egyptian, satanic holy day, holiday to Satan. Sunday worship. So we understand. See, again, the Bible does not tell you to switch any holy day to Sunday.
That's right.
This is what the deception of looking and following a man in religion will do. It will make you think God changed his law or God changed the Bible because that's what you believe.
You have to get this image out of your spirit of this bowing down to this white Christ. Because all he's done was put you in chains and took your identity away and brought you to America. That's not the Christ I want to serve.
And with that, we say shalom.
Shalom.